Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 8:45 a.m., November 20th, 2023. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. Ladies and gentlemen, I am doing something a little bit different today that I haven't done in a while, which is wearing a suit. I have not worn a suit on The Market Open, I think, in maybe like 2 months. And the reason I'm wearing a suit is because the developments this weekend in the technology sector and the way it has taken the news by storm, to me, only felt valuable. That was like, you know what? If we're going to present the news today, we got to present the news and we got to get up, we got to wear a suit, and we got to get into the action. We have a lot to talk about. Obviously, breaking news, Sam Altman is now joining Microsoft's new AI team. He was fired from OpenAI, and we are going to discuss all the implications of what it means for him to be fired from OpenAI, why he was fired from OpenAI, and what's going to be happening to OpenAI, because I personally believe that the $86 billion valuation OpenAI had is gone. I don't think it's coming back. And I think the board of directors has completely ruined shareholder value for OpenAI. So we have a lot to discuss on that perspective. And then the implications of what it means for Palantir, not only with Palantir's F-class shares really proving to be valuable for shareholders this year, but on top of that, Palantir's NHS contract is likely being announced tomorrow. The Guardian, one of the largest publications in the UK, reporting today that Palantir will be getting that NHS contract, and it will be announced very soon. Now, we've had reports that it was going to be announced for a long time, but it seems like tomorrow, in the bid with Accenture, Palantir is going to be getting that deal. So we got to talk about that. And then on top of that, we just got a ton of other stuff going on in the market. S&P 500 reaching 451 in the pre-market. Stocks are up in the pre-market. Palantir hitting a new 52-week high, up 1.81% in the pre-market, $20.85 right now. S&P at 450. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. Where the hell is Google in all of this? It's time to get into the market open. Diane, Carl, Billy, Jack, Gilbert, Midwest, Jonah Anderson, Zelena, Ernest, John Stevens, Emil, Valero, Midwest, thank you all for being here. Nick, Kyos, Drew Jr., D. Edwards, Ronald, Roy, Monty, Jeremy, Jem, T. Kelly, hello, thank you for being here. Dimitri, Amit, you look awesome, my guy. Kyle says, did I sign on to CNBC? No, you signed on to something that has way more passion than CNBC, and that is Amit's Market Open. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to discuss what's going on. Jay's channel, Tata, Dexter, LMNPO, or Imnop. I actually said LMNPO. King, Corey, thank you all for being here. All right, let's get into it. Let's start discussing what's going on with Sam Altman. So I think the biggest news of the week, and I think anyone who has not been living under a rock this week has basically seen that the tech industry has been shaken up. Why has the tech industry been shaken up? Because OpenAI decided that they needed to do something that was to the behest of humanity, which is getting rid of the person who started the company, or as I should say, nonprofit. That is the reason for why we have ChatGPT in the first place. For those that don't know who Sam Altman is, he is one of the most legendary figures in Silicon Valley. Because I have my own startup, I've obviously researched and understood startup culture, Silicon Valley for a long time. Sam Altman has been referred to as Paul Graham, who is like the godfather of startups in Silicon Valley, as the next Steve Jobs. Sam Altman has started startups, built startups, invested in Airbnb, Uber, Stripe, all these companies. He's been one of the core factors that has been the nucleus for all of these startups, even having the advisors and the funding to be able to get set up. As a result of that, in 2015, him and Elon Musk decided, you know what, Google's getting way too powerful. And in order to be a little bit of a hedge back against Google, we should create something called OpenAI, literally open sourced AI, artificial intelligence, that can combat Google's profitable motives to monetize and control the world via AI, because 10 years ago, they realized this technology was going to change the world. 10 years later, we're seeing this technology actually change the world. Now, OpenAI ended up becoming a thing. Elon Musk gave it $40 million to start its funding. Sam Altman became the CEO, and OpenAI became very successful in March of 2023, unveiling ChatGPT, which now has 100 million weekly active users. The problem is the board of directors of OpenAI is filled with a ton of people that are very scared of what artificial intelligence looks like. And so the timeline of events, I just want to go through real quick to give some context on kind of what's going on and how this whole thing is shaking out, to kind of explain where we are right now. At 10 p.m. on November 16th, Sam Altman went to an AI art event. He spoke with Satya Nadella. 11 p.m., Ilya is one of the co-founders and chief scientists and board members of OpenAI, texts Sam Altman asking him to talk at 3 p.m. the next day. At 11:10 p.m., Ilya then texts Mira, who is the CTO of OpenAI, about his plans to make him the interim CEO. At 3 p.m., Sam Altman joins a Google Meets call. It's just hilarious they're not using Microsoft Teams because Microsoft has invested $13 billion into OpenAI, but they're using Google Meets. The entire OpenAI board is on that call, except Greg. Greg Brockman is Sam Altman's best friend and the president of OpenAI. The board tells Sam, you're fired. The reason he was fired, from all the sources and due diligence I've been doing over the weekend, is that essentially the board felt, you know what, you've been spending way too much time making OpenAI profitable and trying to monetize. You unveiled custom GPTs. You're going to try to like make this iOS app store for OpenAI. And like at the end of the day, we don't want the progression of AI to be as lucrative as you want it to be. And as a result of that, we need a new CEO who doesn't care about money, who cares more about the nonprofit. OpenAI is a registered 501c nonprofit. And so you're out. At that point, Ilya texts Greg asking him to join the call. Greg, the president of OpenAI, joins the Google Meets, and he is told he's being kicked off the board, but not as the president. So Greg is not fired from the company, but he's not going to be on the board of directors anymore, or he's not going to be the president. The OpenAI board tells Microsoft about the firing at 3:26. Microsoft had no idea this was happening. Satya Nadella was blindsided at 3:30. And at 7:09, Greg then announces he is quitting OpenAI. On Saturday, November 18th, Satya Nadella calls up OpenAI and says, you better get Sam back because we did not invest $13 billion in you guys for you to be run by some monkeys. Like, we need Sam Altman. He is the reason for why we invested. He is the core leader of the partnership. Sam Altman emailed Satya Nadella 2 years ago asking for some Microsoft Azure AI credits, and that's what started the entire conversation to create a partnership with OpenAI. Without Sam Altman, there would be no Microsoft investing in OpenAI. And at 4 p.m., the OpenAI board was then in discussions to bring back Sam Altman as the CEO. That was on Saturday. On Sunday, they had discussions. As per those discussions on Sunday, nothing ended up happening. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, tweeted this at 2:53 a.m. He says, we remain committed to our partnership with OpenAI and have confidence in our product roadmap, our ability to continue to innovate with everything we announced at Microsoft Ignite, and in continuing to support our customers and partners. We look forward to getting to know Emmett Shear. For those that don't know, Emmett Shear is OpenAI's new CEO, and he is the former CEO of Twitch. So the platform where people are playing video games and basically twerking all day for views is the guy who's now running OpenAI, which is a story for another day. However, Satya Nadella now says, we're extremely excited to share the news that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, together with colleagues, will be joining Microsoft to lead a new advanced AI research team. We look forward to moving quickly to provide them with the resources they needed for their success. This is insanity. So essentially on Friday afternoon, OpenAI is like, we're moving too fast. We need to like not care about profit too much. We're getting Sam Altman off the board. It sounds very similar to what happened in the 1990s with Steve Jobs, essentially being fired from Apple because the board of directors didn't feel like he was doing a good enough job. Then Sam Altman leaves. A day later, Microsoft calls up OpenAI. They're like, hey, we didn't give you $13 billion for nothing. You got to get this guy back. They try to get him back. And likely the negotiations went like, hey, we will have you back as president, but you're not going to be able to be as like, essentially move fast and break things, if that's a word. Like, you know, he was just moving fast, breaking things. He was starting, you know, he was innovating. He was moving fast. And I think the OpenAI board was like, hey, you're not going to be able to do that. If you come, we have to slow things down. We have to do it responsibly and safely in their perspective of what is responsible and safe. And Sam probably disagreed with that. Microsoft probably disagreed with that. And so Microsoft said, you know what? We're going to protect our OpenAI investment. We're not going to like mess it up. We're going to bring Sam Altman internally into the company. And as a result of Sam Altman internally coming into the company, he is now, I believe, this is my speculation, going to build some type of an OpenAI competitor. And the reason why I think this is going to happen is because I think OpenAI's valuation is down the drain. I think that $86 billion valuation, that was the valuation on a company doing about $1 billion in revenue, about $500 million from API calls, and about $500 million from ChatGPT subscriptions. If you take the 100 million weekly active users and take like 2 to 3% of them subscribing at $20 a month, you get about $1 billion in revenue. Palantir, for context, is doing $40 billion at a market cap and doing $2.1 billion of revenue, and they've been doing AI before AI was a thing. So from that perspective, the only reason investors on the secondary markets were super excited to give OpenAI that $86 billion valuation is because of the vision that Sam Altman has been pitching to investors. What is that vision? Hey, maybe we're going to create a device that uses OpenAI's like entire infrastructure, right? ChatGPT kind of embedded into the product. And that's like Siri on steroids. And we can actually check back against Apple. I mean, at 86 billion bucks, if we check back against Apple, Apple's 3 trillion because we build a device that people actually want, not just some random touchscreen. Like maybe there's a whole new ecosystem of products and devices we're not even thinking about, all powered by OpenAI's technology. It seems like the board of directors didn't like that approach, but nonetheless, that is what got investors excited to give it that premium on the valuation. I think that valuation has dissipated. I think in the next 24 months, that valuation will be gone. I think they'll be lucky if they keep their current $20 billion valuation, because I think the chief talent at OpenAI is going to get their ass out of there, because there is no way you're dedicating the rest of your life to a company run by the former Twitch CEO. I think they're going to Microsoft. And so as a result of that, you know who's winning in all of this? It's Microsoft. Microsoft shares on Friday after hours were down. Currently, they are up about 2% right now. Microsoft at 372, up 0.75%, so down a little bit. It was at 379 in the pre-markets. And the reason it's up, and I think investors are excited, is because Sam Altman is the core reason for all of this happening when it comes to OpenAI. Like, there is no OpenAI, there is no premium valuation without Sam Altman. And so as a result of that, if you bring Sam and Greg internally into the team, and now you're building something internally, Microsoft, by the way, $3 trillion company, they have all the resources in the world. So if Sam says, hey, Satya, I want to build an iPhone competitor. I want to like do something kind of crazy. Can I have like 10 billion bucks and just like you give me the autonomy to work on it? Satya is going to say yes. Nadella is a genius. They did this with LinkedIn. People don't know Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They did this with GitHub, which is the largest developer tool on the planet. I believe they bought it for about $7.5 billion. Those founders are still there. Those companies are able to execute and operate almost as if they're like, independent companies just within the entire Microsoft umbrella, because that's what Microsoft knows how to do best. They know how to acquire, get these companies in, give them the Microsoft ecosystem, the Azure cloud computing, and just let them go to work. I think that's what's going to happen with Sam Altman. So this has been an incredible weekend. It's been incredibly exciting. The one question that does remain, and so let me give a little bit of a bear case here for what's going on with Sam Altman. And Elon Musk brings this up over the weekend, and I would love to know what people think about this in the chat, is that why did the board feel we need to fire Sam Altman? Why did the board feel we need to fire Sam Altman? Kyle says, is Amit wearing pants? No. And you know what? I'm going to take off this blazer too, because it's getting too hot. I'm like sweating. I'm like super excited. So we gotta get this blazer off so I can really get into my groove. Why did the board fire Sam Altman? I think the reason the board fired Sam Altman personally has to do with Sam Altman's ability to like continue to move fast and try to make a profit, right? And try to get OpenAI to be more monetizable. The problem is, and Elon Musk made this point, is like, you know what? What if he was actually moving way too fast and he was really disrupting in a pretty bad way? And the reason for this is because OpenAI stole the internet and trained their models to make ChatGPT. Like if I say, hey, ChatGPT, how do I make a chocolate chip cupcake? They didn't pay some random person to like some chef that knows how to make a chocolate chip cupcake to give in those details. They indexed billions of parameters of data on the internet that is open, right? But you're not allowed to steal it. That's other people's content, blogs, websites, all this stuff. You can't just steal that content and then use it to train your models and then charge $20 a month. That's what they did. So Sam Altman didn't give two flying you-know-whats about stealing people's content. He was like, I'm going to build the most sophisticated large language model on the planet, and then I'm going to charge $20 for it, right? Make a profit. It's not a nonprofit, even though it's structured as a nonprofit. Maybe the board felt the way Sam Altman was moving was too advanced, too structured. I mean, they were stealing Twitter's data until Elon Musk put an end to that, and then Elon created kind of his own version of ChatGPT. And so there is an argument out there that Sam was moving too fast. He was monetizing it too much, and it was a good reason to get him off of as CEO of OpenAI. I personally think the world runs on money. OpenAI, at the end of the day, was a profitable company, or was going to be a profitable company, and this was the dumbest thing that OpenAI could have ever done. So as a result of that, I think that this is going to be bad for OpenAI, good for Microsoft. It might be bad for Microsoft because they have that. What do they have? They have that $13 billion investment in OpenAI. If OpenAI goes to shit, then that $13 billion probably goes to shit. But whatever Sam builds, I think will probably be better at OpenAI as well. Imagine if he gets in charge of Fabric. That would be hilarious if Sam Altman is in charge of running Fabric for Microsoft. I think they're going to be building an OpenAI competitor. I think they have the data, they have the models. Microsoft is going to be buying up these chips. They're going to be training something even better. And you never know, Satya Nadella, maybe this is part of his master plan. He could never buy OpenAI. Remember, Satya Nadella and Microsoft wanted to buy OpenAI completely and just take them in. And the board of directors of OpenAI were like, look, we're not a profitable company. So we can't let you do that, because if Microsoft buys us, shareholders are going to expect returns off your acquisition. So you can buy half of us and you can give us a ton of Azure compute credits so that we can, run these models. Microsoft was like, okay, at least we get half of you, and then, we'll figure things out in the future. Now I think Microsoft's like, well, we got the main guy who is running your product anyway. We'll just build this shit ourselves, and eventually your valuation will dwindle into the limelight of irrelevancy. And then we'll either just buy you up on the cheap, or you guys will go away, and Microsoft will own the world. That's basically what's going to happen. So it seems like that's going to be a very interesting scenario that plays out, and we'll see what happens from there. Jules, thank you for these. Thank you for the chat. Happy Monday, friends. Amid is red carpet ready despite the lack of pants. Someone said, imagine if that happened on CNBC. You guys know I never wear pants. I got to wear boxers. I got to wear like basketball shorts because I get so excited and I start sweating in the market when I'm talking so much. If I wore pants, it would just be way too much sweating. Is Amit going to be broadcasting live in Canada soon? Maybe one day. There's a very special person in Canada I would love to visit and potentially broadcast with them. So maybe one day. We'll see what happens. All right. So what are the implications of this on Palantir? Palantir hits a new 52-week high right now. Let's go and let's transition to Palantir. We got about 29 minutes till market open. Thank you all for being here. The video I'm going to be coming out later today is going to be speaking about the implications around Palantir's F-class shares. But let me say something, and let me say it very clear. The only reason shareholders are up 200% year to date on Palantir is because of those F-class shares. The reason F-class shares matter is because when there are founders that are leading and running the company 20 years after the company was founded, when a company becomes public, a lot of crazy things can happen. At the end of the day, if the board of directors does not feel you as the CEO are committing to your fiduciary duty to give shareholders a return, they're getting your ass out of there. And this has happened many, many, many times. Disney so far just had a activist investor value act come in, put in $2.4 billion, and now the stock is pumping because finally investors are feeling, hey, maybe Bob Iger is going to get his stuff together, and Disney is going to get into the right direction. Palantir at $6, $7, $8 for 18 months flat. All of us having $15, $18 averages being down. I was down like 50 grand, right? All of us were down a lot of money. I think if Alex Karp did not have his F-class shares, there would have been an activist investor in milliseconds coming into Palantir, buying up billions of dollars worth of shares and saying, hey, this like weird philosophical guy that has crazy hair, get him the fuck out of here. We're putting in a suit. We're going to sell this shit to Russia and China. We're going to start expanding the sales. We're going to build a sales force so they can actually start taking all these executives on dinners and selling them the product. We're going to turn Palantir into a company that can actually sell and that can actually get their product out there. And if that happened, I think it would have decimated shareholder value. I think it would have ruined the thesis for the company. I think it would have destroyed their go-to-market strategy. I think it would have destroyed one of the missions why I'm invested in the company, which is the protection of Western values. It would have ruined everything. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp saw Sam Altman being fired 20 years ago. That's a fucking tweet. You can tweet that shit. You don't even have to quote me. That like Peter Thiel and Alex Karp saw Sam Altman being fired 20 years ago. Why did they see Sam Altman being fired? Because this is the most explosive technology we have seen since the invention of the internet, which is AI. For anyone that is engaging with these large language models every day, we are just at the beginning of what these large language models are going to have in terms of implications for the rest of the world. So from that context, because we're at the beginning of this revolution of technology, Peter Thiel and Alex Karp knew that was happening because they were in the AI world way before AI became a thing. And they recognized, hey, we got to protect the company's trajectory. We got to protect the stock. We got to protect shareholders. We got to protect our ability to actually influence the product. And if they didn't have these F-class shares and they didn't have control of rights, they didn't have voting rights, the ability for Palantir's product to be spread and disseminated throughout parts of the world where it's really, as we're seeing today, given all the geopolitical problems, not supposed to be, probably could have happened. And I think shareholders would not have got the returns they've gotten. So what happened with Sam Altman is basically what Karp and Thiel have been protecting Palantir about for the past 20 years. And as a result of that, I think that it's one of the main reasons why those F-class shares have actually allowed Palantir to be successful year to date. John Stevens agrees. That's right. Amid Drunk Pixel says Palantir. Let's go. Palantir now a 52-week high in the pre-markets, $20.76. It was at $20.87 just a couple of about 30 minutes ago. Another point on the F-class shares is that, remember, the S&P 500 didn't allow companies that had a majority of F-class shares as their voting structure, Palantir having a 51% stake of F-class shares versus other class shares, before April of 2023. So a lot of the stars lined up for Palantir. Not only did AI gain the hype and momentum it needed to get investors more excited about Palantir, not only did AIP invigorate investors to kind of think about what the go-to-market strategy could be like, not only did their bootcamp strategy start scaling, not only is US commercial growing like a weed, even though Snoop Dogg said he's not smoking weed anymore. Did you guys see that? That's kind of crazy. Snoop Dogg's not smoking weed anymore. But like, not only is Palantir growing, not only is the TAM and the market growing, the actual regulations were set up to allow investors, as per the S&P 500, start buying the shares of Palantir because they're allowing F-class voting structures to be majority of the company's infrastructure. So it is incredibly important to kind of understand the implications of what's happening with OpenAI on Palantir. And I think, Palantir is going to benefit a lot from those F-class shares going into the future as AI becomes more important. Another quick update on Palantir, and then we'll move on to some more macro stuff, is NHS. The Guardian reported today that the NHS deal has been awarded to Palantir. It's going to be awarded tomorrow, is the announcement. NHS England gives a key role in handling patient data to US spy tech firm Palantir. The Guardian had to add spy tech firm just to get off a little bit. Company that works with intelligence services wins a £480 million contract in joint bid with Accenture. I'm going to share my congratulations, or I'm going to wait for my congratulations to shareholders until tomorrow, because we've heard for the past couple of weeks that we're getting this deal and we haven't got this deal. It seems like it's getting to the end of the road here and that tomorrow it's going to happen. And when that does happen, I don't know if the stock is baked in with that news. Personally, I think the stock is baked in. I think it's taken in the NHS news, and I think the valuation has baked that in. But it could be a sell-off in terms of sell the news, or it could be a holy crap, we just got a $600 million contract, we should buy the stock. Maybe from retail investors, institutional investors that didn't know about this. We'll see what ends up happening. But Palantir has won this with Accenture. It's been reported multiple times as of last week. It seems like, based on the Guardian sources, this is going to be announced tomorrow. And once again, another important milestone for Palantir, becoming the most important software company in the world. And think about that. Palantir, if they win this NHS contract, which they've won, it's now just a question of when they're going to announce it, is going to be managing 70 million people's healthcare data. I want a company managing 70 million people's healthcare data to be a company that has founder-led shares, to be a company that can actually control the direction of what is going to happen. Because just imagine a company managing 70 million people's healthcare data and then only having to worry about shareholders and shareholder returns. Like, when you're managing people's healthcare data, that's life or death. And sometimes there's going to be a delay in terms of shareholder maximization of value when you're doing something that sophisticated and that complicated. Same thing with Ukraine. Same thing with whatever's going on geopolitically across the world in terms of Palantir being implicated, whether it comes to Israel, whether it's going to come to China, Taiwan. Like, you don't want just profit incentives like shareholders being the golden voice for what a company should be able to do. You want the founders that actually have some skin in the game, understanding what should happen. And I think this is another reason why we spend so much time analyzing Alex Karp. The reason why I've done like 50 reaction videos to this guy is because I'm basically trusting him, this guy with this crazy hair, even though I have crazy hair as well, so it was not that hard of a decision, to take my capital and basically allocate it in the right ways and do it ethically and responsibly given the power of their technology. And with that Time article that came out a couple of weeks ago about Palantir's work in Ukraine, stopping landmines, right? Identifying landmines so you don't step into something and die. Like, that's the level of sophistication this technology is being used on. Like, to me, you're trusting he has a philosophical view of the world, which is why his philosophy is so freaking important versus just, these shareholder letters of saying we grew 30%. It's like, no, like, how, like, why are you growing? How are you growing? How is the implications of your growth manifesting in terms of the actualization of the product in different instances? Like, how does that allow the company to not only scale and maximize shareholder returns, but be a force for good, real good, not just Google, we can't be evil good, but actual good. I think that's why we analyze Karp so much, because ultimately he's in charge of doing this. And at the end of the day, Karp's going to be the one to take us to the promised land. So ultimately, NHS deal coming up for Palantir. Really good news that they have those F-class shares, as we're seeing with what's going on with Sam Altman. And we'll see in the future how this ends up playing out from there. DFE says, I would think that CNBC will have this news tomorrow. Once it's announced, more people will buy in. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of people don't know about that NHS deal. So probably more people, even if it's retail, might be excited for it. And as a result, to buy the stock. But that could also push the stock high enough for there to be a sell-off, since most people did know that the NHS news was priced in. So we will see what ends up happening from there. All right, so that's Palantir. That's Microsoft. For those that are just joining Art of War, good morning. Thank you for being here. We've talked about Microsoft. We've talked about Sam Altman. We've talked about Palantir. We've got about 20 minutes until the market open. I think let's take a look at some of the macro. what the hell is going on in the macro, given some of this insane stuff that has happened this weekend over the markets. Let me know in the chat, by the way, if you've been following the news updates, because I've just been like seeing this stuff come in. I slept pretty early last night, like 11:45, which is pretty early for me. I woke up at 4 a.m. I wanted to wake up at 3 a.m., but I got up at 4 a.m. So we got 4 a.m. out of the way. We got the workout out of the way. We got a bunch of work out of the way. So it's been a productive morning. And as soon as I woke up, I saw the Satya Nadella tweet, and I was like, oh my goodness. While I was sleeping, Satya Nadella was pitching Sam Altman on joining Microsoft and literally taking over the world. So some exciting stuff happened over the weekend. Let me know if you guys have been following it. Let's look at some of the macros. So a couple of charts I just want to look at in terms of equities, and then we'll look at the 10-year and oil prices. SoFi, 679. SoFi is down in the pre-market. Disney is down in the pre-market. Makes sense. Disney had a massive run-up last week. We'll probably see a little bit of a sell-off there. Enphase is green in the pre-market. NVDA has earnings. We're going to talk about NVIDIA earnings as well in a little bit. They're at $495, about a 47 forward PE. Palantir's forward PE, by the way, 80 at this point. So we'll talk about NVIDIA and some of the implications, because that's another catalyst that could push Palantir higher if NVIDIA grows this week as well. Some banks, Truist is up a little bit at $32. Bank of America is down. JP Morgan is down. Regional banking sector is up. XLF financial sector is up. Meta is down a little bit. And Apple is down a little bit. Google has been the sleeping giant and everything going on. Shares down about 0.70% at 136. And it's been really interesting to see what's going on with Google. We're going to talk about them in a second as well. Let me pull up the US 10-year Treasury. 10 years are up a little bit, but they have come down dramatically from 2 weeks ago when they were at 4.9%. Right now at 4.461. Again, these 10 years continuing to come down is bullish for equities. We're also going to take some look at some analysts that believe that this rally can continue going higher. From the content I've consumed over the weekend, it seems more likely than not that analysts are starting to feel incredibly bullish that in March, there is going to be a rate cut. And what historically has happened from the time in between the first cut and like the last cut, which is theoretically the last cut happened 2 months ago, is the market melts up. The market continues to go higher. On top of this, another piece of macro news that's important is the dollar has been declining in terms of strength over the past couple of days as well. This is also really bullish for equities, because the higher the strength of the dollar, the more people consider leaving equities and investing in currencies instead. So that dollar getting a little bit more weaker takes some of that liquidity and brings it out into the equity market. So we got the 10-year going lower. We got the dollar, the US dollar, going lower as well. And then we got the S&P at 450, which is a nice support level, or a nice psychological level, because the S&P all-time high, or 52-week high, was at 459. Oil on top of that is going down as well. Oil prices, I've seen in New Jersey, $2.99 in a lot of places, and I haven't seen $2.99 in a while. Right now, WTI crude at $77, up 2% on the day. Brent crude at $82. These were at 93 and 95 all throughout September and October. Obviously, last week we saw that groundbreaking CPI going from 3.7 to 3.2, and PPI coming in at negative 0.5 when the market expected positive 0.1, going down from 1.9 to 1.3 year over year. So we saw a lot of catalysts last week that led to the rally in markets. S&P right now at 451.19, giving them the chances to continue to go higher. And then all this news over the weekend obviously made the markets a little bit confused in terms of, what's going on with Microsoft, Google, big tech. But markets were bullish from that perspective. So maybe the market melts up going into that first rate cut, which is March, and then we have the cataclysmic recession that everyone is saying is going to happen in 2024. Or maybe somehow Jay Powell figures it out. We don't have that crazy recession in 2024. We actually do get maybe a slight recession or some type of soft landing. The recession may have already happened, 2 quarters of consecutive negative GDP growth in 2022, and maybe we actually had it and it's gone. Or maybe it's coming. Now, history shows us that recession is definitely coming. If you just look at the inverted yields and what's going on, it's like that's definitely coming. But there may be a period of time, maybe it's 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, where the market melts up and goes higher because all the things that need to be in place are in place. And then when something breaks, the rates start to get cut. And as a result of rates getting cut, then we'll see probably a little bit more of a decline. But as of now, it seems like we've got to be bullish. It seems like the market is ready to continue to still be bullish. Kevin says, I've been reading the news all week about this. I'm here for the news updates. Yeah, this news has been incredibly, incredibly exciting all week. Kim says, nice tie, Amit. Guys, you want to know something? I didn't tie it myself. I asked my mom to tie it this morning. I'm sorry. Like, I got to learn how to tie a tie. Okay. I don't know how to tie a tie. I'm going to learn how to tie a tie, but it's kind of nice that, my mom ties my ties still. And I was like, Mom, can you tie my tie? She was like, okay. I haven't worn a tie in so long. I kind of like the tie though. It feels better than having the one button open. And I used to, before the tie and the one button open, I used to have the one button closed so there would be no tie. So it looked like I was just choking myself. I did that all throughout high school when I was in debate tournaments. And every time I would go to debate tournament, people would be like, why the hell do you not have a tie? And I'm like, it's just like my style. In reality, I just didn't know how to tie the tie. So like I made it a style. But nonetheless, we got the tie. So hopefully the tie is looking nice. Just Jeff will do says, I'm letting the rest of my shares ride 1,500 under $10 average. Yeah, man, if you have an under $10 average on Palantir, if you're lucky enough to have that, I know taking profits might seem like the right option right now, but there are way too many macro factors. And I'm not talking about macroeconomics. I'm talking about macro in the context of Palantir's trajectory and AI that are going forward, that even if we see that dip back to 15, which I think could happen given looking at some of the charts and just like general sentiment of being overextended, I don't think trying to time it makes sense because you're not getting below 10 again. We are not getting below 10 again. Now, you can play this clip in 2024 if we have a massive recession and we get below 10 again. But if you're below 10, essentially your margin of safety, like the tricky part is if you have a $15 average right now. If you have a $15 average on Palantir, the tricky part is, damn it, should I take my sell? Should I get my gains right now and then get back in when I'm at 15? I spoke to someone on Friday who has 32,000 shares of Palantir, $14 average. He sold at $20.20 or whatever. He made like $150,000. He's been holding since February 2021. And when the stock went to $6, his average was 18. And a lot of shareholders in the chat, I'm sure, can resonate with this because, look, when the stock was at $6, all of us had bought in 2021, 2022, and we were like underwater, right? Like I was down 50 grand, bro. Like I would look at my Rob. I worked 2 years for that 50 grand at like an actual job, and that shit just disappeared in like 10 months. Like it was tough, right? But if you have so now at a $15 average, if you think Palantir at 20 is just too extended, it's going to come back to 15. The hardest part is like, damn it, should I time it? Should I just sell, make this money, then get back in because I think it's too extended, which I think is the toughest thing for a lot of shareholders to consider right now. But if you're at under a $12 average, under a $10 average, you have such a margin of safety between your average and where the stock price could come back down if we see a dip that I just don't feel like selling makes sense. Obviously, if you want to take some profits, sure. But in terms of getting rid of the entire position, try to time it, really doesn't make sense because you did a good enough job getting in when not enough people were buying, which is that's this $7, $8 range. So I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of take some of the to kind of keep that average. And if you take some profits, but the margin of safety is just so high. John Schwartzbeck says, exactly, Mitt, that was me. Yeah, so I can't blame the guy who sold 32,000 shares of Palantir when he texted me because I was like, yo, why? Like, 32,000 shares is a big position. I thought you're bullish. He's like, I am bullish, but I've been holding this shit for 3 years and I need some gains because I bought in so high. I bought in at the top. I DCA'd down. And even after DCAing him at $14, I've been holding up for a long time. It's like, I need some gains. And I think $20 is just too much right now. So, we're going to end up seeing what happens with that and see where it goes from there in the context of Palantir. Let's talk a little bit about Elon as well. So we got to talk about Elon and Tesla. Elon Musk had some crazy implications this weekend in regards for the $44 billion company he sold because of the comments he made a couple of weeks ago in regards to Jewish people and Israel and things of that nature. Essentially, a ton of advertisers have pulled out from advertising on Twitter. And we got to talk about this because the implications of this are incredibly massive for Tesla shareholders. And I don't think it's that easily resolved yet. So let me share this real quick just to show some of the names of the advertisers that have stopped advertising. Paramount is not advertising now. Disney is not advertising. Apple is not advertising. IBM is not advertising. Warner Brothers Discovery has stopped advertising. And there's a couple other companies that I'm forgetting about, but there's about 7 to 8 major advertisers. Apple, I think, spends like $90 million a quarter just on Twitter advertising that have pulled advertising. I think they'll come back. I think they will. But I don't think they're coming back until Elon apologizes. And we know Elon's not apologizing. Elon is just like, that famous interview with CNBC where he's like, give me money, give me fame, give me blah, blah, blah. I will not shut up, right? He said something along the lines of, I do not care anymore. I will speak my truth. That's why he bought Twitter for $44 billion. So I think Elon's business model is going to have to switch to subscription base. I will gladly pay the $20 a month that Elon wants me to pay because I'm a power user of Twitter. I love Twitter, love the product. And it, I engage with the product every day. I like using it. So I'll pay that $20 a month. I'll support free speech. But a lot of people don't care about tweeting. A lot of people are not me. A lot of people don't. $20 a month for Twitter. I mean, like that, you could pay that for ChatGPT, pay that for Netflix, right? Like I get way more value out of Twitter than any subscription service outside of YouTube, right? And even YouTube, like Twitter, Twitter and YouTube are like the biggest platforms for me. So I enjoy using them, but I think a lot of people don't. And so I don't think that business model is going to work, quite frankly. So the question then becomes, does Elon have to sell some Tesla stock? Because remember, this is not made up. Twitter has $13 billion of debt. Elon overpaid for the company. They just valued the company at half of the valuation, more than half of the valuation, about 52% less than what he paid for it. So if you got to finance the debt, unless you get a new shareholder or dilute shareholders by issuing new shares and like raising more capital, you got to pay off the debt. Who's going to pay off the debt? It's not going to be Linda Yaccarino. It's going to be Elon Musk. So if Elon has to sell shares for Tesla, that is not going to be good for Tesla at a time where Tesla is incredibly volatile, because that last earnings they had was not good per the earnings call. Cybertruck fears are still there. Yes, there's a ton of stuff to be bullish on Tesla, but interest rates are still high. Interest rates, by the way, even if they go down, they're not going to go down that dramatically to the point where everyone's going to be able to afford an $800 car payment on Tesla. So like there is a lot of stuff to be worried about in the context of the business currently for Tesla. And if he has to sell shares, there's just more selling pressure on the stock that's already at 234, was at 299 this year. It's just not a good situation to be in. I personally think the advertisers will come back. I think Elon's going to find a way to convince them to come back, because I don't think the subscription model is going to work. Like I just genuinely do not think it's going to work. But it will be a while until that happens, and hopefully it happens before Elon has to sell shares. Because if he has to sell shares, that's just not going to be good for Tesla shareholders, especially because he said that he wasn't selling shares for a long time. So we'll see what ends up happening with Elon Musk and keep going from there. Diane says she has a 750 average on Palantir in one account with the largest position, 860 in another, and another one at 1650. That's amazing. You're green on all three accounts. That is absolutely incredible. I am so happy for shareholders that are green on Palantir, because and to make no mistake about it, this was one of the most misunderstood companies in 2022. One of the most misunderstood companies in 2022. I issued a little funny tweet today, and that speaks to the reason why it was so misunderstood. Let me share that real quick. And so it just warms my heart. I unfortunately don't have that good of an average, because I bought in higher. You know, I started covering the company in November 2021. I started buying shares at $27. And so even through DCAing, my average came down to 15, which is tough. It's tough to deal with. But at the end of the day, you know, just going through this journey of covering the company and being here and having this audience and like, you know, being on the journey with you guys since it was at $6, that's honestly, I know it's going to sound cheesy, but that means more to me than the gains, because that's just been the journey of a lifetime. And I do think Palantir has many more gains coming into the future. So a $15 average and even a $20 average in long term doesn't really matter that much if we think the company is going to be what we think it can be, which is one of the most important software companies in the world. That's a $400 billion market cap. That's a 10x from these valuations. So even now, I think it's okay. Obviously, I wouldn't buy right now because I think the price is a little bit overextended given the rally we've seen in the past couple of months. But the journey has meant everything to me. And so I'm so happy when I see shareholders with such a low average, because Tyler, the random first-year analyst at a hedge fund that got his finance degree when interest rates were at zero and thought SPACs were the eighth wonder of the world, said F-class shares makes the company fundamentally uninvestable. And the market seems to like something else that starts with an F, which is F your puts. Palantir, $20.87 an hour ago, 52-week high in the pre-markets. That's what happened in 2022. All these random Tylers were like, well, the F-class shares, the SPACs, the this, the that. They had all these stupid reasons because they got their stupid finance degree, and they're like, well, we cannot evaluate Palantir on this, like the DCF. It's like, dude, $6, $7, $8. Palantir was undervalued. And Palantir was undervalued, not even on a valuation. You could argue maybe the valuation was a little bit stretched given the growth rate wasn't there at that time at $6, $7, $8. I mean, I could see that argument happening because I read so many of those reports. But if you saw the trajectory of the company and the growth of what was happening in the sector, not in the company, but in the sector writ large, that's where the bull case was created. And then on top of that, you look at all the other companies in the enterprise SaaS world, which one had a better valuation and value proposition than Palantir? Those two things combined together, trajectory, and then looking at competition, made it a very easy decision to be like, you know what? This company is worth taking the bet on. And obviously that bet has played out pretty well. Zocold with an 810 average, just absolutely phenomenal with Palantir. Kevin Smith, 840 average, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay, we got about 6 minutes until the market open. Let's do a quick little thing on SoFi because Ada is asking about SoFi. And then after the market open, we'll talk about Google, we'll talk about NVDA, and we'll get some updates from what other people are thinking in the equity markets for why 2024 could be a good year. So what's going on with SoFi? I think I have I've gotten rid of all my SoFi 2025 call options. I've transitioned them to 2026 and basically half of them. So I took the gains and I took half of those gains and I put them into SoFi 2026. I am pretty concerned about SoFi going into 2025. And the reason I'm concerned about SoFi, going into 2024. The reason for this, and I hate to say it, is because that damn chief risk officer sold half his position. I was texting a guy who owns a lot of SoFi. So this is not just me theorizing this stuff, right? I talk to a lot of people every day about equities to try to get their perspectives. And his argument to me was, dude, the chief risk officer who manages risk for the company, meaning delinquency risk, credit risk, loan risk, because he's a chief risk officer, is not going to sell 50% of his position if he doesn't think something screwy is going on in the company. Not saying there's any fraud, but it's something where it's like, it's just like, I don't know. If I could get out right now, I'd rather get out right now. That doesn't mean SoFi won't be fine in 2025 and 2026. I just don't have the anxiety levels to deal with a 2024 where my call options have faded decay on them and they're going to expire in 2025 and have to think every day, is management going to get their shit together? We will be gap profitable. The problem is SoFi is valued at $7 billion. And, the maybe, I don't know how many millions of profitability that the company puts up going into their first quarter next year is just, I don't know if the market's going to feel like this is a reasonable thing to do when there's so many other banks printing so much money already. It's not to say SoFi isn't undervalued at $6 billion. If you just look at their price to book, it's the lowest price to book out of every bank. I think it's like 1.2. Sorry, 1.2. Most banks are 1.217. Most banks are at a 5 or 6 price to book. So you could argue, right, that SoFi is incredibly undervalued. The problem is they're not profitable. They're not bringing in a lot of money. The tech sector, their whole Galileo shit, it's just, it means nothing right now because investors don't really care about it. So their member growth is great. Deposits are great, but they've got to perform. And so I think SoFi really, it's a matter of time. But I thought $15, which were my call options, 2025 January, a given. I felt 7 months ago, it was a given, which is why I bought the call options. Now I do not think it's a given. Now I think it's a taketh. Now, and especially when that CEO taketh his shares, 50% of them off the table, I think 2024 is going to be a little tough for SoFi. So I could be wrong, and SoFi outperforms, and the market doesn't care. But as of now, that chief risk officer selling, the rise in delinquencies, potentially of a recession, and the lack of profitability is the bear case on SoFi. And ultimately, we're going to see where it's going to go from there. Billy Jack says, hey, Amit, Noto promised the Q4. Yes, he did promise a couple of days ago a profit for Q4 on the recent investor call, which is great. I just don't know if the market's going to be as excited. Like when Palantir got gap profitability, the market was really excited. Does the same thing happen to SoFi? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Sasky Rose says, maybe the chief risk officer got divorced and he had to give away. That's interesting. Maybe the dude got divorced and his wife asked for high shares. Amit, that's a high strike. No, remember, SoFi was at about $9-10. I didn't think 15 was that high of a strike, and it got to 11.45. And my dumbass was up $30,000 on those options, and I didn't sell. So yeah, like that's, thanks for reminding me, Blake. But I didn't think it was that high of a strike, thinking I had 14 months out from the expiration. But now it is. Now I have $12, $17 call options on SoFi, and I think by 2026 they can get to $17. I think they can at least get to $12. I mean, if they can't, then goodness, that investment is an absolute failure. But we'll see what ends up happening. PayPal is red in the pre-markets, of course. Why wouldn't it be? We got 2 minutes until the market open, folks. Let's get into it, and then we'll be discussing Google, Apple, and NVIDIA, because the missing piece to everything going on this weekend was Google. If you're just joining, Microsoft's OpenAI investment is likely going down the toilet. They invested $13 billion, OpenAI at an $86 billion valuation. They have ousted Sam Altman as CEO. They have put him now, Microsoft recruited him as a CEO of an internal AI research team. We don't know what that research team is going to be for, but Microsoft has recruited Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, former CEO and president of OpenAI. And OpenAI now has Twitch CEO Emmett Shear, the former founder and CEO of Twitch, as the CEO of OpenAI. If you're asking why, if you're asking why the guy who made a live streaming video platform, which is a great platform. I mean, it was a hard thing to do. He did it. Amazon bought it for $1 billion. If you're asking why he's running OpenAI, I can't give you that answer other than the fact that he's been a Silicon Valley insider for a long time. And that's why, he's the guy for it, but no idea why they chose him over other people. Kelly in the chat says, I can't wait to take half your shares. Kelly, I can't wait to give you half of all my shares. Let's see. We got 30 seconds until the market opens. Here we go. We're going to see the stocks I'm looking at today. Amazon, Palantir, C3 AI. Let's see if they get a little bit of momentum. They've been flat while Palantir has been running up. I want to see NVIDIA, Enphase at $92. Disney, I want to see how that does. and SoFi. We'll see if it can recover, but Palantir is the star of today. Let's see if they can continue to crack their 52-week highs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. It means the absolute world to me. 9:30 a.m., November 20th, 2023. We are all here because we are all trying to make some money, and the stock market is once again open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. All right, Palantir, $20.73. New 52-week high on Palantir. I think last week we closed at like 2069 or something. So we have officially crossed a new 52-week high on Palantir. Absolutely incredible. Let's see how the momentum continues to go from Palantir, and we'll see where it continues to go in the context of this new NHS deal that was announced today, potentially being released tomorrow. We'll get back to Palantir in a second. Amazon at 145, up a little bit right now. SoFi down 1.46%. The market is not loving SoFi. 673 right now on SoFi. Intel up almost 70% year to date. Intel at 43.86. Their earnings were amazing. They got down to $25 or a little bit lower than that at the beginning of the year. So if you picked up some Intel at that bottom, you're doing well on Intel. Enphase, look at that. 93.14. Again, I'm calling it. If Enphase recovers back to the 115 level from going from 180 to 72, it's a hell of a rally, and I think the comeback of the century for Enphase. I think investors just got tired of the fact that the company is growing so much, even though I know their future growth is now stalled because of interest rates, that maybe the valuation is worth taking a risk on. At the bottom, valuation at $12 billion. They're doing about $3.7 billion TTM in revenue. NVDA 494, up 0.25% on the day. S&P 500 450.96. We are green on the S&P. Tesla is down about 0.89%, 232. PayPal is down 56.40. Meta is up 336. Meta just $2 away from its 52-week high. This has again been one of the best big tech performing companies since that low at $88 in 2022. JP Morgan is down. Bank of America down. Truist 31.75. Truist is down. Verizon is up. Apple $190.75, up 0.56% on the day. Microsoft very close to its 52-week high as well, 374. Again, if you're just joining, Sam Altman is now the CEO of an internal research division dedicated to A&I at Microsoft. OpenAI likely falling apart given that they ousted Sam Altman. This is going to be an incredible movie once it's all said and done, but Microsoft shares are higher because the market is excited for Microsoft. Google, we're going to talk about them in a second. Google's down at 134.76. Makes sense why Google is down. Lucid at $4.01. CleanSpark is up. Riot is up. Coinbase is up. Marathon is up. All the Bitcoin stocks are up because Bitcoin is up 37,000. Bitcoin was down at like 36,100 over the weekend, rallied up to 37,169, was a little bit higher at 37,300. Bitcoin's getting exciting to the market. The market's, it's up from 24,000. The market's like, you know what? That halving event is coming up soon. We're getting excited about where the market is going. The trajectory of potentially being risk on means that more Bitcoin should be in your portfolio. And obviously, to not mention the obvious, the ETFs that are being approved for Bitcoin at scale across not only ARK, but the spot ETFs, et cetera, that potentially are going to be not approved yet, are getting people excited for there to be more exposure to Bitcoin. Robinhood at $8.05. I am starting to feel Robinhood is one of the most undervalued stocks in the market. And let's talk about this real quick before we go to Google. Robinhood is at a $6.97 billion market cap. The private market cap for Robinhood in 2020 was $8.3 billion. Let me say that again. Robinhood raised $280 million in a Series F funding by Tiger Global, their main investors, in 2020 at an $8.3 billion valuation. The company has fundamentally transformed 3 years later, and the stock is $2 billion below that valuation. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Trading basically at cash with $5.2 billion in cash. You're basically paying $2 billion for the brokerage. I think the options play for Robinhood, to me, I mean, that $10 strike for 2026 is looking like $10 looking like a given by 2026. I mean, anything could happen, but I think that would be exciting. But even going a little bit more out of the money, around $12, $17 2026, I think might be able to create some returns. And the options are cheap right now because Robinhood has a lot of negative momentum. The company is GAAP profitable as well. So I think Robinhood, I've not really pulled the trigger on those options, but I'm looking at it way more deeply because after finding out that they're below their private round of funding in 2020, that makes me more excited for Robinhood. Palantir up 1.5% of the day, $20.82. It is 20 cents away from $21. It is going to be old enough to drink. And when it gets old enough to drink, you got to promise me, everyone in the chat that has some Palantir takes a drink tonight. Because if we see $21 on Palantir, it's going to be very, very exciting to see Palantir get there. Ryan says he likes Robinhood, but not SoFi. Incredible. Look, I like Robinhood. I don't know what you want me to say. Robinhood's exciting to me. I use the product every day. I tried using SoFi. I can barely get through the app loading up. So I like Robinhood. I think it's undervalued. I could be wrong. We'll see what the market ends up saying over the next couple of years. Wow, 490 OpenAI workers are threatening to quit. Is that something that just broke? Is that breaking news? Hold on, let me Google this. OpenAI workers, are they trying to quit? Let's go on Twitter real quick and see if that's happening. Because if that is happening, that's pretty crazy. I would imagine that those OpenAI workers are not happy that Sam Altman is gone. I don't see any news about that yet, but I mean, if that is a headline and that's happening, I would not think those employees are happy. I mean, think about it. Imagine being at Apple in the early days with Steve Jobs, who's the visionary. I'm not saying Sam Altman is literally Steve Jobs, but he is the reason ChatGPT is here. He's the visionary behind this. He's done like 1 trillion interviews explaining OpenAI's vision across the entire world. He is the guy. He is the most influential person in AI as per Times 100 AI most influential people. He's the guy. He is the guy. Imagine that guy leaving. And now you're there with your stock compensation package and you're looking at the board like, I don't know if any of this equity is going to be worth anything. I mean, at that level, it's going to be pretty tough. So at the end of the day, if the OpenAI workers are starting to leave, I think it's going to be a hard situation for OpenAI. Let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA. $20.88 on Palantir. I'm monitoring it very closely. It's like, it's in my side eye. It's like, you know, when you're at the club with your girl and then you like go to get drinks and then you start talking to another girl and like she's like looking at you with her side eye. Palantir is always there on the other screen, just through my peripheral vision. It's like, girl, I got to keep a check on, making sure that she's there. And so making sure we'll look at that. But let's look at NVIDIA for a second, because I tweeted this over the weekend. I want to talk about NVIDIA earnings on November 21st. By the way, we got the other thing I forgot to mention on Tesla is there was a price cut on Tesla from Jefferies, 210, 250 to 210. So we saw that's another reason why Tesla shares might be down today. I don't know the logic for why Jefferies cut the price, but they did indeed cut the price. Okay, so let's talk about NVIDIA. And if Palantir hits 21, let me know. And oh my God, it's at 29. I can't again. I gotta go back. It's at 2097. I can't do this. I gotta go back to the main chick. I can't go to the side chick. NVIDIA's this. I gotta go to Palantir. Oh my goodness. Okay, so at 2094. You know what? I'm going to do my classic. I always do it. I buy one share, and I did this at 12, pushed it to 13, did this at 13, pushed it to 14, did it at 14, pushed it to 15. I don't even know if I have to buy a share, but should I buy a share? Should we do it, ladies and gentlemen? This is the first Palantir share I'm buying in a while. Should I do it? We're going to do it. Oh, it's at 20.99. Oh boy. There it is. All right. I'm doing it. I'm buying one share at $20.98. There it is, folks. All right. It's done. There we go. $20.99. We got it. We got 21. We did it right. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. That's $20.99, baby. That's it. That was my share. It was me. I'm taking credit. I'm sorry. It was me. We pushed that motherfucker over to $21. She is old enough to drink. She can drink. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. This is why we do this. We do this for the gains. And we do this at $6 being down $50,000, because one day you might be up more for the gains. You stick with it for the gains. You do the due diligence for the gains. You read into Alex Karp's crazy vocabulary for the gains. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have some gains. Palantir, $21.03. This is quite phenomenal. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. This is great. Wow. Everyone in the chat, let's go. 21, we're here. We are here. Did a mid FOMO. Yeah, I definitely FOMO'd. I was chasing that 21. Oh, man. You know what's really exciting about this as well is that the what was I about to say? The NHS deal is coming out tomorrow, theoretically. So right now, this 3% move might be on the rumors of the NHS deal coming out, or it might not even be baked in, because if it closes over 21 today and that NHS deal comes out tomorrow, I mean, and it's not baked in, if we see 22, I mean, I don't want to say I'm a Taylor Swift fan, but I might be feeling some 22. Okay, I'm just saying. 22 was a great year for me. 22 was awesome. If we get to 22 while we're in 2023, wouldn't be too bad. And if we end the year at 23 in 2023, that would be a hell of a story. Look at that, 21.14. It's not stopping. It's just going up. It's just like, this is me when I was 16 and I realized that I had body parts. They just kept going up sometimes when I got excited. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Up 3% a day. Who the hell is buying? It's either retail or it's institutional. Right now, $46 billion market cap, volume 13.5 million shares have been traded at 9:40 a.m. 9:40. Oh, I got to tweet this. I haven't even tweeted yet. I haven't tweeted. Let me tweet. Okay, let me tweet. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta put this out there into the world. We got here. Oh, I didn't even tweet that I was live. I had a whole tweet planned for I was live. I was in the suit. Damn it. I didn't even. Okay, I'm gonna tweet this one first. Let me just. I had it queued up. I didn't even tweet it. All right, 2117 still on Palantir. There we go. Let me tweet the picture as well. Again, you should be very happy if you're a shareholder and you bought in when the whole world was saying that the company had, because the due diligence we did as a community, not just me, not just you, as a community, it means a lot. Palantir breaks 21. Palantir is old enough to drink. Let's do that. Palantir breaks 21 and is old enough to drink. Let's do that. And is old enough to drink. It's old enough to drink. And honestly, I'm drunk because this is amazing. Now, could we see it go below 21 again? Yes. But the fact that we broke it is just so incredible. Definitely will hit 22 because this Friday, a lot of options. This is not a bad point, Ada. A lot of $20 call options on Friday were expiring, and that got that got the market super excited. Market makers, I think, tried to not let it close over 20, but there was so much damn buying pressure that market makers had to give those call options at $20 to their respective buyers because there was too much volume and there was too much buy side volume. And as a result of that, Palantir continued to go higher. So we'll see if the call options on 22 strike gets ridiculous this week, then Palantir will continue to go higher as well. I mean, it could potentially continue to go higher as well. Jesse tweeted he rebought. What? Jesse rebought? No way. Jesse rebought? Oh my goodness. We're going to pull up that tweet. Jesse is like a big technical factor or a big technical guy on Palantir. Yeah, he bought 1,700 shares at 2069. Oh, well, he's up. That was a hell of a buy. He's up already. Goodness gracious. Oh, it was actually executed at $20.58. Good. So he bought. Look, is it a good buy? I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. Palantir now at 2120. As of now, it's a good buy. I think what we're seeing with this momentum with Palantir at the end of the day is the market getting very excited about AI. Look, I'm going to be honest, the growth is not there to probably justify a massive valuation. I think all of us know this. Look at the C3 AI up 4% just because Palantir is up 4% today. However, the market is looking at some of these AI plays that are out there, and ultimately they're thinking Palantir has one of the greatest trajectories to go. So if Palantir doesn't put up the growth, the stock's coming back down to reality. But as long as the market thinks the growth is going to be there, they'll give them the valuation. The question just becomes, will Palantir execute on the growth? And if they do, then yeah, $20 is going to be cheap in the in the broader schemes of things. Kelly says FOMO is real. I do think some FOMO is chasing the stock right now. I definitely think there are people that are out there that are like, you know what? I missed it at 17, 18, 19. I'm buying it at 20. All it takes is one bad bearish red day to tank this back down. The problem is, where does it go back down even if it comes back down? Like, even if it comes back down, maybe it goes to 18. Okay. Shit, 18 is still not bad. If it goes back down to 19, okay. 19 is not horrible. If it actually gets some support at 20 and it capitulates at $20, I don't think any shareholder is going to be that upset unless, you're buying it at $21 right now, right? That it's at $20. And even if it's at 20, it'll probably go back to 21 pretty soon. Like, when the dip happens, because inevitably will happen for every stock, how badly does it affect Palantir? That is the question. The other thing that's important to remember is the S&P was around this range when Palantir went from 14 to $20 in August 1st. So August 1st, Palantir had Q2 earnings, or right before Q2 earnings, the company spiked from $14 to $20.23. I remember I was at the gym when I saw this happening. S&P was at 460. Now S&P is at 450 and Palantir's at 21. So the overall market is trading similar to where Palantir was trading back then. And Palantir has had another earnings, and that earnings had a lot more growth than Q2 earnings. So it's not that much hype that pumped up the stock. It was actually a really good earnings. And then on top of that, you had everything going on in Israel, potentially more need for defense software. You got AIP growth happening more by management. So there are NHS. There's a lot of more factors there that Palantir had for Palantir to be able to keep going, for Palantir to keep going up. Short squeeze. Is there a short squeeze? I don't think so. There's only 150 million shares shorted, which is 8% of the float. I don't think shorts are covering yet. I think if we see $23, the shorts may cover. I think if anything, shorts are going to double down. Because I've read a couple Seeking Alpha articles this morning about like just incredibly bearish on Palantir valuation. Those are the types of people that are looking at this valuation and are thinking the dumbest people in the world are buying the stock right now in terms of how expensive you're paying for the growth. So if that's the case, I don't think those people give up their short position yet. Now, if the stock gets to 23, 24, I think that's when they're like, you know what, fuck it. I'm giving it up. But at 21, I don't know if the shorts get that excited to cover yet. Or maybe this 3% rally is because of the shorts cover. I mean, it could go both ways. But if the shorts do cover, this baby's pumping higher. She's not stopping. She's going to keep going. And, that might keep going from there. Kelly says, drink some water. Okay, yes, you guys see it in my voice. Yeah, I'm talking so much. I'm going to take a 10-second pause, drink some water. You guys like the big, I filled it up last night. Let me drink some. Let me see how much I can drink. Let's see how many people leave when I take this drink. And we keep going from there. All right, give me 30 seconds. That was so awkward, dead silence. But we got 1,000 people now. So thank you for letting me take that sip of water and 1,000 people joining. Thank you all for being here. This is awesome. All right, so if you're just joining, here we go. We got Palantir at 21. This is so weird. I'm sorry. This is the problem with being on the news, right? Like, at what point do you take a drink? You take a drink during commercial, but I don't have any fucking commercials. I'm just like running this thing. So that's why we're here. $21.07 right now, up 2.83% on Palantir. Okay, let's talk about NVIDIA. Because NVIDIA affects Palantir. We saw Palantir go to $21. Let's talk about NVIDIA. This is another catalyst for why Palantir can pump higher going into next week. So let's see what's going on with NVIDIA. So I tweeted this over the weekend. NVIDIA is expected to grow at 172% year to date, or earnings year over year. 172% they're expected to grow. Bay Ray says, maybe if you didn't talk so many words per minute, you wouldn't need so much water. Yeah, but then it wouldn't be so much fun, right? Then it wouldn't be like, a lot of people have said in the chat they think I'm on blow, which apparently is slang for cocaine, given how fast I talk. But this is a natural high, baby. I mean, when Palantir hits 21 and it does it right when you buy a share at $20.99, you don't need any blow. You just need Palantir to keep blowing past $21. All right, NVIDIA. So revenue is expected to grow 172% year over year. Now, while the recent run-up in NVIDIA, which is $280 billion of market cap, was added in the past 2 weeks, which may signal that the growth of earnings is already priced in. Again, $300 billion of market cap was added to NVIDIA in the past 2 weeks. If the company outperforms, particularly on data center revenue, which is the highest part of their revenue, along with an easing macro, we could see some interesting action on the 21st. More GPU demand means more demands for models being trained, which means more AI spend on software. And I think SaaS stocks like Palantir, Datadog, and Snowflake could benefit from this. And the reason they could benefit from this is because at the end of the day, these companies are third-order derivative companies from NVIDIA. They only make sense. This is Kathy's entire thesis for selling NVIDIA. She believes that NVIDIA has run up enough on the hardware front. And yes, NVIDIA can keep growing, but at the end of the day, there's not enough alpha there. But the software companies can get a crap ton of alpha because they're just starting at these $40, $50 billion market caps. And we think, AI is going to create trillions of dollars of prosperity and wealth for the entire planet. So another reason Palantir could continue to pump higher is because if NVIDIA does well on earnings, if NVIDIA does a really good job, it just signals to the market, where is this data spend going to go? Where are these models going to be spent? Where is this AI going to be going from there? And at the end of the day, Palantir might be one of the companies that gets there. Remember, Palantir pumped 5% when NVIDIA went to 515 on August 30th or whatever, when NVIDIA had their Q2 earnings. We could see something very similar like that happen. The question becomes, is the market already baked in so much premium on Palantir that when NVIDIA pumps, maybe the market doesn't get that excited for Palantir to continue to pump higher? And so I think NVIDIA is going to determine a lot of that. Someone said I had a water mukbang. Zoe, that's incredible. Jittery says, I've never had 1,000 people watching me drink water. That's true. I could scratch that off the bucket list. Had 1,000 people watch me drink some water. So I'm thirsty for more Palantir. Let's just say that. I mean, this is, wow, we hit 2132. That was the top. 2132. I didn't even see that. So volume is 19.5 million, market cap of $45 billion, 21.32. This is just absolutely incredible price action on Palantir, breaking these $21. And I think, it's sustaining it. It's been almost 10 minutes. It's been above 21. We'll see where the market turns from there, but it's not too bad. I mean, the market's continuing to give it the premium. Amazon at 146, SoFi, fucking dead ass stupid bank stock down 1%. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the sales. I know you feel the same. It's a stupid bank stock that the market doesn't respect right now, and it is what it is. Maybe it'll have its day in a year from now. But SoFi's down. Enphase is up 93.72. NVIDIA 495 is up. S&P, look at that, 451. Where's the NASDAQ? Meta at 338. Meta, new 52-week high on Meta. Absolutely incredible. The NASDAQ is at, look at that, 14,205. Remember, the top of the NASDAQ is 16,000 back in November 2021. We're at 14,203. Bottom was about 10,000. And we were at 12,543 on October 31st. Now the NASDAQ at 14,000. Palantir again at $21.20. Let's get some experts, as they call themselves, and let's see what they're saying about why the equity markets can continue to go higher, why they think the market has more momentum built in, and where the market could continue to go from here. So let's take a little bit of macro reasons for why the market can continue to pump. And while you're watching this, I'll drink a little bit of water. Let's play 2 minutes of this and we'll keep going from there.
Marianne Bartles, who is the chief investment strategist at Sanctuary Wealth. And I think, Marianne, the biggest question has to be this big run-up that we've seen in the markets. This is on expectations, not only that the Fed is done, but maybe that the Fed's going to be cutting rates next year. Do you buy into this rally? Or if the Fed doesn't cut rates, do you think we've gone too far too fast?
It's a great question, Becky. We've been bullish. We were looking for a correction going into the fall of around 10%. We got it. And we've been calling for a year-end rally. Not only that, we're out with our year ahead, and we're calling it the bucking bull for both bonds and stocks. We think bonds go into a bull market next year. And the Fed doesn't necessarily have to cut rates for bonds to be in a bull market. I think the market itself can allow rates to gradually come down. But again, if the Fed does start cutting rates, that definitely would add fuel to the fire for bonds. And as rates have been coming down, equities have been rallying. So we think you can actually hit new record all-time highs next year in the equity market. But
so I agree with her. I mean, I think ultimately she's right on that argument that equity markets can hit new all-time highs. Tom Lee obviously was pretty bullish about, did I just say Tom Lee and bearish in the same sentence? I have to, that is absolutely insane that I said that. Her argument is that if the Fed has to lower rates, equity markets are going to continue to go higher. And the reason they're going to continue to go higher at the end of the day is because those interest rates coming down is ultimately good for companies like Palantir that are growth stocks where the cost of capital becomes incredibly cheap. Even though Palantir doesn't have to borrow any capital because Palantir has $3 billion of debt, has one of the healthiest balance sheets on the entire market. Now, the bear case for interest rates being cut is that something's breaking in the economy. I think we have a window of opportunity from now until the first rate cut where oil is coming down, unemployment is going up slightly, CPI is coming down, PPI is coming down. The market's excited. They're in this euphoric state of all right, we're in another bull rally where we could melt up and shit could really get funny in terms of some of these stock prices, which could signal a top, but nonetheless, it could produce some exceptional gains and investors would have an opportunity to take some profits because of that period, which is basically a Goldilocks period that happens many times. Historically, it's happened many times before that first rate cut. Palantir right now at $21.16. And so again, for Palantir, interest rates never matter to Palantir because they have $3 billion in cash. They never had any debt, so they never had to worry about borrowing money. But they did matter in the context of other companies were not willing to spend on AI, software, infrastructure, SaaS products, etc., because other companies don't have $3 billion in cash and zero debt. They have, to spend money to be able to finance their businesses. They have to take on debt. So if they're going to buy a $30 million contract from Palantir for their software, it's going to cost them some debt. It's going to cost them some money. And if interest rates are high, they're not going to be able to finance that. So interest rates in general coming down help the entire economic sector. And obviously, it'll help a company like Palantir. Enphase at 93, AMD at 120, NVIDIA 494, DNA 155. Let's finally talk about Google. I've been saying we're going to talk about Google for a while. We'll talk about Google for a little bit, then we'll go back to Palantir. and see what's going on. Higher rates allowed Palantir to be gap profitable. That is true. That's a great point by Josh. One of the reasons why rates were good for Palantir is because they used so much of that net interest income off the $3 billion they had in treasuries to produce last quarter $72 million of gap profits. Now, the problem is that if rates come down, they're obviously not going to be able to make that money. But if the business grows and their operating income is showing in terms of the margins at now at 30% up from 17% a year ago, that it's able to grow, they might be able to produce real profits without interest income, which will just be like a game changer for the stock, right? Because at the end of the day, that stock, the company will not need to rely on treasury bills to be able to produce a profit, which will be really good for Palantir. So, we'll end up seeing what happens from there. Let's talk a little bit about Google. Google's in a tough position right now. It's up right now at 137. I think everything that has happened with OpenAI and Microsoft is really getting people concerned about where the hell Google is in everything going on. Now, why are people concerned about Google? The reason people are concerned is because basically Google created the technology that allowed ChatGPT to even be a thing, and they never released it. These large language models have been in the possession of Google for a very long time. The reason they never released it is because they were worried about disrupting their search business. I don't think search is going anywhere. I think if you're a power user of ChatGPT, you're probably using less of Google, but there's not that many power users. And maybe in the future, there will be billions of power users. I don't see that vision yet, at least not for the next 2 years. That's my belief, and I could be wrong. The problem with Google is they haven't released Gemini. And Gemini is their developer platform that is similar to OpenAI's custom GPTs, where people can build on top of Bard. And as a result of building on top of Bard, they're going to be able to build new products, build new infrastructure, build new consumer-facing products. There's just so much stuff you can do. And Google hasn't released it yet. And Google said they were releasing it a long time ago. So it's kind of like, what's going on? On top of that, Microsoft, $3 trillion market cap versus Google. Why is the market giving the premium to Microsoft? Yes, their earnings are probably better. Yes, the revenues may be better. But is there something that Microsoft's doing in terms of their approach to enterprise AI adoption? Remember, Microsoft has Palantir competitors. Microsoft Fabric is a competitor to Palantir's Foundry, even though it's not really as sophisticated in terms of the ontology portion of it, that is trying to implement an operational AI throughout the entire enterprise. And Microsoft has the cloud, with AI Azure cloud being like the best AI cloud from what I've seen in the entire market. Google's cloud is not as profitable or growing as fast as Microsoft's cloud. It's definitely not doing as well as AWS's cloud. Google has the search business, and then Google doesn't really have custom AI enterprise software like a Copilot. Google Sheets on steroids is not really what we're looking for here. So what is Google's trajectory over the next couple of years to be able to be a big player in regards to AI? I don't know. I really don't know. Rocktoria says Google is crippling themselves by banning unblock origin on Chrome. Their ad revenue is going to suffer with people moving away. Yeah, it got so bad for Google that they had to build in code to block YouTube ad blockers, which is probably like a lot of people use YouTube ad blockers. I've never used it, but I'm sure a lot of people do. But the fact that you're so concerned about ad blockers disrupting your business over the past 20 years, where you never gave a shit about ad blockers, probably means that the business might not be doing as well as we think, or the trajectory of it you're concerned about, because you're trying to, siphon in as much ad revenue as you possibly can. So, we're going to see. We're going to see. But as of now, Google is not giving investors the excitement they need to be all in on the AI moat strategy, And so ultimately the market's going to decide what ends up going from there. P. Morton says Microsoft has been slowly trying to take over the world, thinking in brain style. That is correct. KT Richardson, NHS is scheduled to announce the FDP tomorrow, plus NVIDIA earnings is tomorrow. Tomorrow will be wild. I forgot. NVIDIA earnings is tomorrow. I talked about NVIDIA earnings without realizing it's tomorrow. That's two things that are happening tomorrow. You got the NHS deal. For those that are just joining, the NHS deal has been rumored by The Guardian, which is a decent source in the UK when it comes to this particular type of news, to be coming out tomorrow. And then on top of that, NVIDIA earnings are tomorrow. So we're seeing $21 on Palantir right now, up 3% on the day. If we close over 21 and NVIDIA earnings are phenomenal, and the NHS news actually hits a ton of investors that didn't know about the NHS news, that's a $600 million contract. Markets might get excited, man. Markets might really, really, really get excited. Gino, what's up, Amit? What's up, Gino? Thank you for being here. If you have not liked and subscribed, it would mean the absolute world to me if you like and subscribe. I do a market open every single day, 8:45 to 10 a.m. where we get excited. It's a new version of CNBC. It's a one-man CNBC, but I think there's a unique value proposition to the energy, the communication, and kind of what we're doing on this Market Open. And we're going to start having guests very soon. November 28th, we have our first really big guest that's coming onto the Market Open. So I think the show can be a special show over the next 5-10 years as we build it out. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe. And I do a Palantir video every day. If you're interested in Palantir, you can subscribe for that as well. Enphase right now, 94.65, up 2%. AMD, phenomenal run from 117 last week, now 121. NVIDIA, 495. Seems like investors are getting excited for those earnings that are coming up tomorrow. S&P at 452. DNA, $1.55. Kathy Woods owns about 200 million shares of this company. People were asking, I think I got a super chat about that. Let me address that right now. Amit, what in the world is going on when DNA insider selling of 100K shares almost every other day from their CEO? Honestly, Cameron Investing, this is the reason why I sold out of DNA at $2.92 back in October of 2022. I have no idea why the insiders are selling this much. Like, to me, it almost gets to the point where it's like, do insiders just think the company is over? And their earnings were bad. Their sell program growth is going down. Their biosecurity revenue has gone away. They were making $287 million of biosecurity revenue, which is basically protecting companies and governments from the next COVID pandemic. No one cares about the COVID pandemic anymore. So that revenue has gone down to like 20 million. Like, it's just an absolute mess at that company. So even at this valuation, I know Kathy sees some amazing pieces. Until it gets to like $1.10, I'm not even interested in buying it. Because could it pump? Sure. But it's not worth the risk. Not in this market. In this market, it's not worth the risk. One of the saving graces is Palantir's CTO is on the board of Ginkgo. He's the chairman of the board, so that gives me a little bit trust that Ginkgo can, continue to go higher. But as of now, it's just not worth the risk right now. SoFi 671 down 1.7%, AMD 120, NVIDIA 495, and Palantir at $21.09 on the day. Look, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. We are seeing the markets get very, very excited. Last week, we talked a lot about the bear case. Tomorrow, we'll continue to discuss what's going on with the bear case, and we'll keep bringing on the different bull cases. But it's exciting. It's incredibly exciting. I think I'm going to end it off here. Palantir at $21.15. The biggest thing I'm looking for today, can we hold this $21 level for Palantir? Or does the market sell it off when it gets to a point where there's not enough momentum coming in? I think today is going to be interesting. If we hold $21 and we're old enough to drink by 4 p.m. after hours, everyone here has got to promise me, if you're of old enough age to drink, which I don't think I have any under 21-year-old people listening to the channel, or if you're in Europe, you're like 16, 18, whatever, it's fine, right? You got to take a shot tonight. If we break above 21, you got to take a shot, and you got to take a picture of that shot and tweet me at AmitIsInvesting, because I want to see that damn picture. I want to see it. You got to take a shot celebrating up $21. I'll do it too, even though I don't drink. I'll do it too. I'll find something in my house. We have a ton of alcohol. I just never drink. Like, we have so much alcohol in the house and I never drink. It's actually insane. I could drink every day, but I just never drink. You got to take a shot, and you got to tweet it at me. This is my Twitter. It's in the description. You absolutely have to tweet me that picture, because that's just exciting. And Daily Palantir, my Palantir Twitter account, will retweet all of them. Amit, you should do a live stream, a shot with everyone, or a happy hour over YouTube. We'll see. I'm super busy the rest of the day. We'll see. Maybe during Finance Junkies, if it's at $21, we'll take that shot. And by the way, thank you to everyone who came to Finance Junkies last night. We had Jeremy, we had 600 people there. That was awesome. It was a fun little 3-hour special talking about stocks. My wife says I'm 12. Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of men who watch this channel have told me that their girlfriends and wives and significant others are really tired of them spending as much time with me. And to that, I say, tell your wife to go look at that fucking brokerage and look at that gains with Palantir at $21, and then tell her, hey, honey, you can run the credit card tonight, because I'm staying with Amit and I'm taking a fucking shot. So that's what I would tell my significant other if she was mad that I was spending some time with Amit Kukreja talking about Palantir. Let's do the word of the day, and then we're done for the day, folks, and we'll keep it going from there. Word of the day, bombastic, of course. A beautiful word of the day. It's a word of the day that I like. I think we've all seen this word many times before. We all know what it is, not a mysterious word. But how else could you describe Palantir's stock action today other than bombastic? We do a word of the day for those that are new here every day at the end of the day. And we try to use it in a sentence. Look, Palantir's stock price has been bombastic today. Stock action has been bombastic. And ultimately, investors are feeling that one of the better opportunities in the market right now is Palantir, which is why that premium is continuing to go higher and higher and higher. Palantir year to date is up 220%. In the past 3 months, it's up 46%. Past month, up 35%. Past week, up 8%. And today, it is up 3%. This is a special channel, I think, outside of all the YouTube channels out there, because, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll end it out here. Thank you, 823 people, for being here. YouTube is really competitive. To find a voice in the broader ecosystem of the markets is incredibly competitive. You know, I mean, why would people watch you? Why would people care about your thoughts? Why would people care about your opinions? Not only just on the markets, but in anything in life, right? Like, why are people entitled to listening to you? And on top of that, then you want to talk about equity markets. You got to know what you're talking about. You got to not sound like an idiot. You got to know what a price to book, you got to know what like PEs are. You got to know all this stuff. And in order for people to take you seriously, you've got to not only know the YouTube algorithm game, which is really complicated. It's not an easy game to win. You've also got to know how to deliver so much value when people get to click on your content because you got in front of their feed, and then people actually, stay committed to like watching your content. And in 2021, I knew none of this. I did not know the YouTube algorithm game. I did not know what a market cap was. I'm being very honest here. Like, I was buying Palantir at $30. I was like, oh, the market cap. What's the market cap? There's a capital of a market. That's great. I'm just buying at $30. I didn't know any of this stuff. And over the past 2 years, you guys have watched me grow up. You guys have watched me become a better investor. You guys have watched me learn about valuations. You guys have watched me put out unrelentless amounts of content at Palantir. And the reason I was making that content is because the one thing I believe I'm good at is communication, because I was a national champion debater in high school. And I learned how to communicate about things that I'm passionate about. And as I did more due diligence on Palantir, I got really passionate about it. And there was like no one on YouTube talking about it. And I was like, you know what? What if I just start talking about it, put out some content, see what people think? And I was excited about the stock. I got excited at $20. As the stock still went to $6, I think the one thing that I'm proud of myself that I didn't do, that was, scary for me as just like a 26-year-old, is 24-year-old at the time, is like, oh my God, I was telling people that the stock at 18 was amazing. Now the stock's at $6. Like, holy shit. Like, was I the reason, even though I didn't explicitly tell people to buy the stock, obviously, was I the reason that people are down a lot of money? And I probably was, to an extent. I mean, just in terms of subconscious bias, people like, I watched this video, this guy, random Indian dude, he's excited. Indian people are tech CEOs. This Indian guy on YouTube, he's talking about Palantir. Palantir's a tech company, Indian tech CEO. Okay, I'm going to buy the stock. I'm sure there's some people who did that. There's some people who have told me they've done that. But at $6, the conviction didn't go away, because it was like, you know what? There's something about this company. The market's stupid. It's not just Palantir that's at $6. Tesla is at 100. S&P got a 340. It's not just Palantir. It's not an AMC situation. It's not just a bunch of apes, happy to bet on a movie theater. It's like, holy shit, have you listened to this guy who's been here for 20 years, who has a PhD in philosophy, talk about the company? And then you look at the stock price. And then you're like, you know what? I want to make more videos about the company, because fuck the stock price. This guy, this mission, this vision, this is different. And as a result of that, the content kept coming. And we've all been on this journey. And look, a lot of things had to happen. ChatGPT had to happen. AI had to happen. A lot of shit had to happen. Palantir had to become GAAP profitable. But damn it, the company performed. And the stock is here today. And so the only reason I wanted to say all of this is because I think this is a very special channel, because we've been on the journey of following the stock up all the way back down. And it's kind of like a Tesla situation in terms of like, Palantir at $6 seems to be the bottom. And could Palantir be a $250 stock one day? Could Palantir be a 10x, 20x from that $6 market cap? I think it can. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think it can. And so the fact that we're all on this journey and, where it's already up like, 3x from that $6 price, it means a lot. And so it's been super, super excited to be here and be with all of you. Philip says I was throwing darts at a pick of a mid. I'm sure there were some people who were doing that. But the reason I just kept making the videos is because I was like, number one, there was so much news every day. So it's not like I was just making the video to make the video. There was news to cover, right? Like, I was a journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm a Palantir journalist. I cover Palantir. There's news. I cover the news. And I think I was the only one covering the news, because when I got to $6, a lot of people got really scared to cover the news. I remember there was a day Microsoft Palantir, goodness gracious. Microsoft partnered with Palantir. Microsoft partnership with Palantir was about a Foundry application on their Microsoft Azure store. And I was like, this is big news. But I was busy that day, and I was busy the day after that, and I didn't cover it. I didn't make a video. And then it came out on Monday. I check on Thursday. I type in Microsoft Palantir. There's no videos. I'm like, no one fucking talked about that. Like, I had a couple of days. I had to do some shit. I was kind of busy. No one talked about this. And so it was those moments where I really questioned, like, dude, I don't know. If no one's talking about, I'm literally the guy on the island right here talking about this at that time when it was really tough. It was a tough situation. Obviously, there was a ton of people making content on Twitter, Palantir Substack. There was a very big community. But there were some days where it's just like, no one's talking about this shit. And I was like, all right, let's pump out a video. Let's see what analysis I can make. Let's try to form an argument. Let's try to see if that argument makes sense. And let's deal with all the hate comments of everyone, saying you're a grifter and all this stuff. And let's just keep going with it. And at the end of the day, we're here. The the stock's up. The stock might come back down, but as of now, it's done really amazing. And besides the stock, I think more so than anything, I don't think the stock is just up on pure hype. Is there some hype? Yes. The trajectory of the company's role in the AI race for trillions of dollars of wealth that it's going to create has fundamentally changed from 1 year ago. And as a result of the Q3 earnings, as a result of geopolitical problems, and as a result of the market giving AI a premium, Palantir is up. And Inbound says, can't deny you were a factor in my Palantir FOMO. Yeah, so the market's changed its tune on Palantir. Palantir right now, $21.08, up 2.3%. And the point of me going on this soliloquy here, see, word of the day, we're using this in different contexts, is because I think this is a special channel, because we've been here since the beginning, and we're going to be here till the very end, and it's going to be an exciting journey. And it's one of those things where you kind of can't buy this. You got to be there every day when the stock sucks. You got to be there tweeting. You got to be there talking. I mean, I debated the Palantir bear, that Edwin guy. There was 800 people watching when he called them an AI imposter. And it was just like those community events, they're etched in my memory and I think they're part of this whole journey, because it's just what you do when you're on a journey. And the fun part about all of this is that we're all on a journey to not only build wealth, but to bet on a company we think can help us build that wealth. And we're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. Tesla shareholders went from 414 to 100. That could happen to Palantir. That could absolutely happen. But I think if it does happen again, the whole community will be here. And we'll be here to support and see everything that's going on. Big Eyes Gallagher says, I'm live with you this morning. Good morning from Amit. Good morning, Big Eyes. Thank you for being here. D. Edwards, oh man, gifted 20 memberships. Thank you, D. Edwards, for that. A membership is when you join the channel. You can pay $5 a month to support it. Yeah, if I don't know how you claim a membership, but I think it's like first come, first go. So if anyone wants to claim a membership, you can claim a membership right now. D. Edwards, that's really nice. Thank you so much, man. And by the way, guys, I want to make this very clear, because I think one of the I'm going to, for the people that are here, I'm going to keep talking about this a little bit, because it's important to kind of get this out of my chest. By the way, Palantir, $20 right now, 3.4%. One of the biggest concerns I had when I started YouTube and started doing this content and started getting a little bit of an audience is not to become a meat Kevin. And I say that not in disrespect. I say that in the context of when I was a fan of this guy. I love this guy, love this content. And then every 5 seconds, I'm getting pitched a course. Every 5 seconds, I'm getting pitched to become a real estate agent. And it's just like, it's just almost like, and yeah, the guy showing his salary of $250,000 a month on YouTube. And then on top of that, buy my $1,000 course. It was just like, how greedy do you have to be? How much money do you need to siphon? On top of that, you're making millions in the stock. In the stock market, right? How much do you have to get out of your audience for you to feel like you're being a productive YouTuber? And so the biggest thing for me when I started to see some audience momentum is don't fucking sell out. Don't sell out. Palantir at 21.22. Don't sell out. Because when you sell out, everything goes to shit. Everything goes to shit. So if I ever come out with a product that is $4 or $5 a month, it is going to be a product that I think you guys would genuinely want to pay for. If I ever come out with a sponsorship, which I just never want to do because I don't like sponsorships, it feels kind of weird. I think it would be something you guys care about. But the reason I haven't done it yet, and it's been 2 years of not asking to pay $5 a month or something, it's because it's just, this community is so valuable. So the $5 a month gift membership means a lot, but it's not why I do this. It's just doing this right here. I've said this many times. You guys might get tired of me saying this. I was a debater for many years in high school, and I spoke on stages in front of thousands of people. And the high I got from that dissipated when I graduated high school, because I wasn't on the debate team anymore. I was in college. I was in the real world. I was a big boy. Being in front of 1,000 people every morning, 728 people every morning, I cannot express the level of fucking gratitude I have to do what I love to do on stage every day. I'd swear I would do this if it was $0. The money is not the reason. The attention, the captivating of the audience, the making the stupid, silly jokes that all of you laugh at, even though you say it's not funny, like that. And then following the journey of something you've been covering for 2 years. Because at the end of the day, if you're a content creator, you have to pick a subject. Right? You have to pick, the journalists that started covering Facebook in 2004, they built their audiences off covering the biggest social media company in the world. How do you get 1 billion users in 5 years? Facebook did it. If you were one of the journalists documenting that story, you made a name for yourself. And now when you talk about something else, people might give a fuck because they gave a fuck when you were talking about something that no one really cared about. And, it's kind of like discovering a rapper when they're unknown and then they become known and you're that guy that discovered, it's one of those things where in the stock market, your reputation is built off, do you have the analytical capabilities to communicate why a stock is undervalued and why it might be worth investing in? And Palantir, just because of all the news involved in it, has not just been it's undervalued, buy it. It's been this is a fucking company we need to look at every day, because this is a company that could really make us a lot of money and could change the world. And so it's been really fun just being part of that journey. Been really fun being part of that journey. So that's it. Davis says, were you a master debater? I hate you, Davis. I hate you so much. I hate you so much. I did use my hands a lot when I was debating. I mean, one of the not really critiques, but one of the comments I got from judges is that my hands moved so much when I was master debating. You know what I mean? So I guess in that perspective, yes, I was a master debater. So that's it for me. Palantir, $21.28. We're 3 cents away from the 52-week high. Thank you all for joining. It means the absolute world to me. 21.30 right there, 3.95% up on the day. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll have a Palantir episode coming out today. I already recorded the Palantir episode because I was being extra productive and I woke up at 4 a.m., recorded it. So it's not going to talk about the stock price action, but we are talking about a ton of stuff that implicates Palantir, NHS, OpenAI. So that video will come out in a couple hours. And Finance Junkies at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:45 on the Market Open. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. Let's kill it Monday morning. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.